I am Slick Nick, your personal hairline hero, the red pill Chad dad that you apparently need in your life if you're watching this video as you are worrying that you might go bald. I've said it many times here on my channel that if we were to define the hair loss community, would we actually see, if we had little screenshots of everybody, the thousands of viewers I have on these videos and subscribers, would we see a bunch of young bald men? We would not. We would mostly see young men who have at least as much hair as I do, if not zero hair loss. That's most likely because it's the fear of going bald, not so much the action of already having gone bald. So what I wanted to do is ask this question. Is worrying about going bald in your top 5? So in case you're new to this concept, I've made a couple of videos about this already, what I call the 5 stones concept. If your life was symbolized by 5 different things that matter the most to you, you had a stone for each one of those, what would you write on each of those stones? Let's say you had a marker or you had a paintbrush and you could paint on there the phrase that symbolized what takes the most time inside your brain, things that you focus the most attention on, that you celebrate or worry about or spend time, energy, money, emotions on. What do you invest in? What are the 5 things? What are your top 5? Now, I've openly shared mine. For me, it's my faith in God. It's my marriage. It's being a parent to my children. It is my career, which also includes my side hustle channel videos here on YouTube, my blog. I have other side hustles as well, selling products on Amazon. And then lastly, fitness and health. Those are the things that personally matter to me the most. Everything else comes second. Now there may be a 6 through 10 on the list, but those are my top 5. And I think it's important to figure out what your top 5 are. Why? Because if you don't figure out what they are, they figure you out. Yeah, that's what happens. If you don't figure out what's in your top 5, your top 5 is going to figure you out. And insecurity is going to find its way in that top 5. I have no room for insecurity. But again, I'm red pill. I realize I have control over certain things in life and others I do not. And I think that's maybe the first step. Recognize that most things in life you have no control over. I just shot a video talking about what the news actually is. What is the news? It's fear, it's gossip, and or it's agendas being sold. And then it's monetized. It's monetizing human suffering and insecurity. That's what it is. But I don't have time for that in my life. I have zero interest in that. But ultimately those things are things you don't have control over. That's what the news ultimately is. I'm not going to focus on those things. So let's bring this back to hair loss or the fear of hair loss. Now, I made it very clear, and people ask me daily on my channel, Nick, what do I do? Do I keep using rosemary oil? I've seen your videos. Well, then watch my video where I make it very clear in the aftermath, it doesn't work. Nick, should I get a hair transplant? Nick, should I take Propecia? Nick, should I? And those are blue pill questions, which is not what this channel is for. Granted, it may have started out that way, and then I realized, because when I was making all those videos, it's not that I cared about hair loss. I was just trying to cater to people's needs and desires and what they were already searching for on YouTube. But then I realized it's mainly insecure people who are asking me this. Their insecurity wasn't really from their perceived hair loss. It was because they were already insecure people who hadn't figured out what they were bad at in life. Therefore, they hadn't figured out what they were good at in life. And they hadn't figured out things, like this book right here, how to win friends and influence people. That do you want to be liked? You want people to like you? Then stop focusing on yourself and focus on other people's needs and desires. Focus the conversation on them. They are not going to focus on your insecurities. They're already focusing on their own. So I realized those things. And ultimately, what's in your top 5? Is worrying about something that hasn't necessarily happened? Is that worth your time, energy, money, emotions? Is that worth being in your top 5? I mean, man, when it comes to the fear of going bald, just check out the video I put on this channel. There's a VHS of me in 1998 where you can see my temples had receded as a 17-year-old. I was 17 years old, and if you watch that video, you can clearly see my temples had receded. And here I am as a 40-year-old man. I did nothing to stop, quote, hair loss, and this is still where I'm at. So imagine all the viewers that would worry about hair loss, put that in their top 5, and then it doesn't even happen. Imagine the irony of worrying about something for years of your life. In your youth, there's a famous quote that youth is wasted on the young. You know, the irony in that you have so much potential, yet you waste so much headspace on something that may never even happen. And imagine if I would have done that. If I was that worried about going bald when I was young. Instead, I turned 21, I noticed, my temples, I noticed this is going up a little bit. And all the guys in my dorm, we all shaved our heads. And I did that, and ever since then I'm like, oh yeah, this is fun. And if I ever do go bald, I'll kind of be better prepared for it, which, by the way, I do feel in the somewhat near future, maybe November I'll be doing that again, maybe going down to number 2 all over. So it's something I enjoy doing. But I ultimately, I wasn't gonna say faced my fear at age 21, but it wasn't my fear. I assumed I was gonna go bald by my early 30s. I already had that ready because I knew even as a younger man, that's not what makes people like you. Your hair is not, even then, though I had enough sense as a younger man to know that if you want people to like you, you don't make it about you. You make it about other people. Because ultimately, most people are insecure, more so than you probably. So instead of giving them a perfect head of hair like they could care about, which they won't, you give them security, you give them direction, you give them influence in a positive way. That's what makes people like you. And I think even when I was young, I knew that much. So let's go back to the topic. Is worrying about going bald in your top 5? If you're blue pill and watching my videos about hair loss, it probably is. What I would suggest is to knock it out of that spot. Get it out of there. And put something else instead. Something that's actually productive, that's going to yield to something. I mean, I've already shared many times what makes a man attractive. And if we want to start with physical appearance, then I always say, work with what you got. If you're going bald, if you're noticeably bald, you shave it off. Solve the problem. And most importantly, as far as outward appearance, what are people actually looking at? As far as things you can control? Don't give me your height. Nick, I'm only 5'7". Instead, you can control what you wear. You don't have to spend a lot of money to look nice or to look like you have a good sense of fashion. You can Google that stuff. People are also looking to make sure that you're smiling. When you smile, it makes that person think, oh, they like me. Yeah, so get some sorts of fashion sense. Smile. That's obviously a great start. And the other thing you can control, take care of yourself. Eat healthy, be active. People notice that, and that's a sign that you're a confident person because you're taking care of yourself. Put that in the top 5. Put the things you can control in the top 5 because that is what red pill men do. I'm inviting you to join me. It's much better on the red pill side of life. But ultimately, if you think worrying about hair loss is more important than actual happiness, which I have, with or without hair, then keep it in your top 5. As for me, I would say, no thanks, dude. Your comments belong right here.